Yeah, that's a long, deep thought. Like, that's not in my focus. My focus right now is the team we're playing ahead, the Bears. So anything past that, I'm not really focused on, honestly. I'm thankful for it, but I'm not content, with my situation, with everything, and with leading this team.
I think Shedeur is a better player than Dillon Gabriel. I think drafting Dillon Gabriel in the third.
I didn't love that pick.
So my theory was they're no dummies. They've been around Jimmy long enough. They realize that, as Shedeur falls, he's going to force them to take Shedeur Sanders. So they go, listen, we'd love to take this guy in the 4th or 5th. Let's take him now, so it kind of shuts him up. But then Shedeur just kept plummeting. They didn't have a choice once they got to the 5th round when he's like, you got to do it. So my theory is they overdrafted him to shut up the owner, because any visual you saw of Stefanski and Barry, he's right over their backs. He's right behind them, kind of hovering. I mean, that's a bizarre place.
Sources close to the Browns organization are reporting that Jimmy Haslam is having serious conversations about Kevin Stefanski's future after Shedeur Sanders' latest press conference revealed uncomfortable truths about his situation in Cleveland and what Shedeur said about not knowing if he'll be here. His different situation from Cam Ward and needing to make sure I'm around next year has reportedly sent shockwaves through the front office. Shedeur's comments about finally building trust with his receivers, taking that leap of faith that God gave him, and only performing his best when he can trust his situation are being interpreted as subtle shots at the coaching staff that buried him for months. And insiders say Haslam is now realizing that Stefanski's handling of the Shedeur situation may have cost them a playoff run and damaged the organization's credibility. Even more explosive, Shedeur revealed that Coach Prime's expectations are the highest and his voice is always in his ear during games, leading to speculation that Deion has been coaching his son through this Browns dysfunction from afar. And that relationship might be the final straw that forces Haslam to make a coaching change before he loses the franchise quarterback he accidentally stumbled into.
He bring the energy in the game, and I respect him, of course, going into the game, and even after the game and everything, that he's the competitor he is, and I was just excited, to have that experience, to be able to play against him, one of the best.
Sure, Kevin officially announced that you're going to get to start the 4 games. Obviously, you talk about how you're thinking of this opportunity.
But when your coach comes out and doesn't hold the starting quarterback accountable for not playing well, regardless of whether he is a young quarterback or not, doesn't watch the film, and immediately comes out in the press conference and says, I'm going to stick with Dillon Gabriel after the bye week, knowing that Myles Garrett isn't throwing his helmet on the sideline because he was upset that he didn't get more sacks. Myles Garrett was upset that his 5 sacks didn't matter. That is a massive problem in the locker room. And when you look at a guy like Shedeur Sanders, every chance Kevin Stefanski has gotten to put him down, to not put him in a position to be successful, he's done it. Kevin Stefanski owes it to the locker room to give Shedeur Sanders an opportunity.
Look, y'all need to pay close attention to what Shedeur Sanders said in this press conference. Because if you read between the lines, you can see exactly why Jimmy Haslam is reportedly on the verge of making a massive organizational change. And it all comes down to one word that Shedeur kept repeating throughout this entire presser: trust. Let me break down what is really happening here, because this is way bigger than just a rookie quarterback answering questions after a game. This is about a young franchise QB sending signals both directly and indirectly about the dysfunction he has been dealing with in Cleveland and how that dysfunction is now threatening to blow up the entire organization. When a reporter asked Shedeur about officially being announced as the starter, listen to his response carefully. He said, I'm thankful for it, but I'm not content with my situation, with everything, and with leading this team. I'm not content with my situation. Y'all, that is not just a throwaway line. That is a franchise quarterback who just made history with his performance, saying he is not satisfied with how things are going. And when you are a rookie who has been buried on the depth chart for months, who was told you'd be redshirted, who finally gets your shot and immediately dominates, and you still say you are not content with your situation, that is a message, and you can bet Jimmy Haslam heard that message loud and clear. Because here is what sources are saying behind the scenes. Haslam is furious about how Stefanski handled the Shedeur situation from day one. The owner brought in a 5th-round pick with a famous last name, thinking it would generate buzz and excitement. And instead, his coaching staff buried the kid and let the media destroy his reputation for months. Now that Shedeur has proven he is the real deal, Haslam is looking at a lost season and asking himself, how many wins did Kevin Stefanski cost us by not playing this kid from week 1?
Ties into a lot. You know, that ties into trust. That ties into knowing where you guys are going to be. That ties into everything. So that's where you see the improvement, because that we had that leap of faith, you know, this past week, with knowing that the receivers are going to be in the right places, looking at everybody in the eyes saying, I'm going to be there, I got you, building that foundation, building that trust. So when everything, like when I trust.
Was running only scout team drills, while Gabriel got every starter snap. Fans started connecting dots. Insiders started whispering. And suddenly the Browns' quarterback room looked like a political battlefield. What should have been a normal practice rotation turned into a civil war. Musgrave, the veteran coach, had enough. He went public. Standing at the podium, he praised Shedeur's work ethic like he was reading from a championship speech. He's learning by the day, getting the most out of every rep, Musgrave said, voice steady but eyes sharp.
But it gets even deeper when Shedeur starts talking about his footwork and how that improvement is connected to something bigger. Listen to what he said. I think footwork and all that ties into a lot. That ties into trust. That ties into knowing where your guys are going to be. That ties into everything. So that's where you see the improvement, because we had that leap of faith this past week, with knowing that the receivers are going to be in the right places. Looking everybody in the eyes, saying, I'ma be there. I got you. Building that foundation, building that trust. And then he drops this bomb. When I trust, then you get the best out of me. You get what I'm saying? It's hard for me as a player to not trust things and play my best. So I'm just thankful that we built those relationships that quickly within the receiver room and within the team and with the O-line and everything, but we're not content. When I trust, then you get the best out of me. Now on the surface, that sounds like he is talking about trusting his receivers. But think about the context of this entire season. Shedeur was buried at 4th string. He was told he'd be redshirted. The coaching staff made it clear they didn't believe in him. The media was spreading lies about his work ethic and preparation. How are you supposed to trust a situation like that? How are you supposed to play your best when the organization doesn't trust you? And that is exactly what Shedeur is saying here without directly saying it. He is explaining that his performance is directly tied to the trust in his environment. And for months, that trust didn't exist because Kevin Stefanski and the coaching staff refused to give him a real opportunity. But now Shedeur has built trust with his teammates, with his receivers, with his offensive line. Notice he didn't mention building trust with his coaches. He said receivers, team, O-line, but no mention of the coaching staff. That is not an accident.
Ties into a lot. You know, that ties into trust. That ties into knowing where you guys are going to be. That ties into everything. So that's where you see the improvement, because that we had that leap of faith, you know, this past week, with knowing that the receivers are going to be in the right places, looking at everybody in the eyes saying, I'm going to be there, I got you, building that foundation, building that trust. So when everything, like when I trust.
Sources say that Jimmy Haslam has been paying attention to these subtle comments. And when you combine them with everything else that has come out, the Browns insider admitting there were agendas against Shedeur, teammates like Alex Wright going viral praising Shedeur's work ethic, analysts like Shannon Sharp calling out Stefanski's sabotage, Haslam is reportedly realizing that his head coach may have let personal bias destroy a potential playoff season. And when the reporter asked Shedeur what allowed him to take that leap of faith with his receivers, his answer was simple and powerful. God did. Not the coaching staff. Not Kevin Stefanski's system. Not the plays they drew up. God gave him that leap of faith to trust his teammates. That is a statement. And if you are Jimmy Haslam, you are hearing that and thinking my quarterback is crediting God and his teammates for his success, but he is not crediting my coaching staff. That is a problem. But here is where it gets even more revealing. When asked about deciding when to throw the ball away versus trying to make something happen, Shedeur gave an answer that exposes the tension between his natural playmaking ability and what the coaching staff wants from him. He said, sometimes you get in situations where you gotta understand the play's over, and I'm improving in that. I had a little slip up last week for sure when knowing the play's over. But like, I don't know, in those situations, sometimes it's just like I want to win so bad. I want to make something happen whenever we're stagnant and stuff like that. I want to make something happen when we're stagnant. Y'all, that is Shedeur saying the offense gets stagnant under Stefanski's play calling. And when it does, his natural instinct is to create something out of nothing. But the coaching staff is trying to coach that out of him. He continued, just learning from the week before, when I took a sack that got us out of field goal position. I learned from that, and I was like, okay, knowing where we are on the field, understanding like, okay, I tried my first, it don't work, get it out.
You said your dad was going to get mad at you for that pick.
Yeah.
Did he, and what kind of advice did he give you?
Well, you got, like, during the game and everything, I always hear his voice, you know, like, in my ear. You know, I'm like in certain situations, certain everything, like, in a lot of situations, and I know his expectation for me. His expectation for me is the highest than anybody is, you know, so that's where.
So Stefanski is teaching Shedeur to play scared, to play not to lose instead of playing to win. And for a young quarterback with elite playmaking ability, that is how you kill their development. Sources say this is one of the major points of contention between Haslam and Stefanski right now. The owner sees Shedeur making incredible off-platform throws, scrambling to extend plays, showing that factor that elite quarterbacks have. And then he sees his coach trying to turn Shedeur into a game manager who just throws checkdowns and doesn't take risks. That is not what you draft a Sanders for, and Haslam reportedly knows it. But perhaps the most telling moment of the entire press conference came when Shedeur was asked about his dad getting mad at him for that interception, because his answer revealed something that is reportedly making Jimmy Haslam very uncomfortable. Coach Prime's influence on Shedeur is stronger than Kevin Stefanski's. Listen to what Shedeur said. During a game and everything, I always hear his voice in my ear in certain situations, in a lot of situations, and I know his expectation for me. His expectation for me is the highest than anybody's, so that's where playing for him my whole life made it easier to come and play anywhere else, because his expectation, anywhere else. Y'all, Shedeur saying that because Coach Prime's standards are so high, playing for the Browns, playing for Kevin Stefanski is easy in comparison. That is not exactly a ringing endorsement of your coaching staff.
You said your dad was going to get mad at you for that pick.
Yeah.
Did he, and what kind of advice did he give you?
Well, you got, like, during the game and everything, I always hear his voice, you know, like, in my ear. You know, I'm like in certain situations, certain everything, like, in a lot of situations, and I know his expectation for me. His expectation for me is the highest.
And sources say this is what is really concerning Jimmy Haslam, because if Shedeur's primary coaching influence is his father and not the Browns coaching staff, then what is the point of having Kevin Stefanski? You are paying a head coach millions of dollars, but your franchise quarterback is being coached from outside the building by a Hall of Famer who happens to be his dad. Haslam reportedly sees this as a lose-lose situation. Either he accepts that Coach Prime is the real coach and Stefanski is just a figurehead, or he makes a change and brings in someone who Shedeur will actually listen to and trust. But here is where it gets really interesting. When asked about his conversation with Cam Ward after the game, specifically about what they discussed regarding the off-season, Shedeur gave an answer that has everyone speculating about his future in Cleveland. He said, "My focus, this is my life here." So, we on two different spectrums right now. I gotta focus on playing my best and being the best player I can for the team. And obviously the situations are different. So, and I know he puts his all into these games, in these final 4 games, but it's just a little bit different because you don't know what could happen. So, I just go here, enjoy my day, work hard, do everything I can, and if I'm here, I'm here. It's nothing in my control. So, I try to control what I can control. If I'm here, I'm here. You don't know what could happen. It's nothing in my control. Those are not the words of a quarterback who feels secure in his situation. Those are the words of a 5th-round pick who knows the organization didn't believe in him from the start and who is not sure if they will actually commit to him moving forward despite his historic performance. And when he says his situation is different from Cam Ward's, he is acknowledging that Ward was the #1 pick who got guaranteed money and organizational commitment, while Shedeur was an afterthought 5th rounder who had to fight for every opportunity.
Motherfucker, this is my life here, you know? So we on two different spectrums right now, you know? I gotta focus on playing my best and being the best player I can for the team, and obviously the situations are different. So I know he puts his all into these games and these Final Four games, but it's just a little bit different, you know, because you don't know what could happen, you know? So I just go here, enjoy my day, you know, work hard, do everything I can. And
sources say this answer is what really set off alarm bells for Jimmy Haslam. Because if your franchise quarterback is publicly saying, if I'm here, and you don't know what could happen, that means he doesn't feel valued, he doesn't feel wanted, he doesn't trust that the organization is actually committed to building around him. And whose fault is that? Kevin Stefanski's, the coach who buried him, the coach who refused to say his name for 2 months, the coach who took him out for wildcat plays in crucial situations, the coach who is trying to coach the playmaking ability out of him instead of embracing it. But the final nail in the coffin came when Shedeur was asked about Ethan Pocic being out for the season. His answer revealed just how much he values the players who believed in him versus the coaching staff who didn't. Shedeur is saying he hopes his center is back next year, but he is not even sure if he'll be back. That is how uncertain he feels about his future in Cleveland. And sources say this is the final straw for Jimmy Haslam, because you can't build a franchise around a quarterback who doesn't know if he'll be there next year. You can't develop a young talent who is publicly expressing uncertainty about his future. You can't win games with a QB who says, if I'm here, like he is expecting to be traded or cut at any moment. That level of uncertainty comes from one place: the coaching staff's handling of him from day one.
Yeah, Luke definitely a hungry dog, so we gotta get that back connection going. But Ethan, it definitely hurt that he was out, because the responsibility he took, you know, in helping everybody whenever I was able to come in and have that different level of comfort, you know. So I truthfully hope I could play with him next year, and I hope he's around next year. You know, I really do.
Now here is what insiders are saying is happening behind the scenes. Jimmy Haslam has reportedly been in conversations with people around the league about Kevin Stefanski's future. He is asking other owners, other coaches, other front office executives, how do you handle a situation where your head coach clearly didn't believe in your best player? And the consensus answer he is getting back is you make a change. Because here is the reality. Shedeur Sanders just became the first Browns quarterback since 1950 to throw for 300 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown in the same game. He joined an elite group of rookies that includes Joe Burrow, Stroud, Andrew Luck, and Matthew Stafford with his 360-yard, 4-touchdown performance. That is franchise quarterback production. That is the kind of performance that changes the nature of an organization. But Kevin Stefanski tried to prevent that from happening. He buried Shedeur at 4th string. He refused to give him first-team reps. He allowed a media smear campaign to run unchecked. He took Shedeur out for crucial plays, even after historic performances. And now Jimmy Haslam is sitting there looking at what could have been. Looking at a 5-8 record and thinking, what if we'd started Shedeur in week 1? What if we'd given him the keys from day 1? What if we built the offense around his strengths instead of trying to force him into a system that doesn't fit? Those are the questions keeping Haslam up at night. And those are the questions that are reportedly pushing him toward a coaching change. Because at the end of the day, you can replace a coach a lot easier than you can replace a franchise quarterback. And right now, the Browns have a 22-year-old QB who is showing all the signs of being special if they don't screw it up. But screwing it up is exactly what Kevin Stefanski has been doing all season. And Shedeur's press conference, with all its subtle shots, all its talk about trust and uncertainty, all its references to Coach Prime's voice being louder than anyone else's, has reportedly made it crystal clear to Jimmy Haslam that a change must be made. The question now isn't if Stefanski will be fired, the question is when. And sources are saying it could come as soon as the end of the regular season, or possibly even sooner if the Browns continue to lose winnable games because of questionable coaching decisions. Because Jimmy Haslam has reportedly realized something crucial. Kevin Stefanski's ego and stubbornness almost cost him a franchise quarterback, and that is unforgivable. So here is my question for all of you. Is Jimmy Haslam right to consider firing Kevin Stefanski after how he handled the Shedeur Sanders situation? Does Shedeur's talk about trust and if I'm here prove that the relationship with the coaching staff is broken? And should the Browns bring in a coach who will actually embrace Shedeur's playmaking ability instead of trying to suppress it? Drop your thoughts in the comments because Shedeur just exposed the dysfunction in Cleveland without saying it directly, and Jimmy Haslam reportedly heard every word. If you think Stefanski should be fired for how he treated Shedeur, smash that subscribe button because we are going to keep tracking this developing story as the Browns decide their coaching future. Shedeur said, "When I trust, you get the best out of me," and it is clear he doesn't trust Stefanski. Let's go.